Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome to Chassidus in the morning. 15 minutes, change your life.
What age is your puppets?
Okay. So continuing on what we're talking about. So basically, we've been discussing essentially the main question of the mind is, what does it mean? Usfartem Lachem Shabbos and the day after Shabbos. You should say the day after Pesach. Then we said we're discussing this pasuk. We brought down, not to understand, we have to understand the whole concept of Sefiras HaOmer, which is refining the Bahamas. We brought down this pasuk. Mashcheni acharecha narutza haveini melech hadarav. That mashcheni means draw me. This is referencing to what happened by Yetzias Mitzrayim, that Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim. But then it comes the avoid of us. Now it's only nefesh lekis. Then comes the avoid of ourselves working on nefesh Bahamas. That's what it means. After you, we will run. Why we? Because you got nefesh Bahamas involved, and that's why it's also running. Because when you have the nefesh Bahamas, he either, like we said, he either doesn't care at all or he runs. And it's a very important lesson that the true success in learning or in Torah and mitzvahs coming to Hashem is when you get nefesh Bahamas involved. And this is the whole point. It says in the Kuntres Tefillah, we learned this. That it's not about the nefesh lekis. Nefesh lekis is good by itself. The whole purpose of nefesh lekis coming down is to come and work on the nefesh Bahamas and refine it and get it involved. And when we do, you get a lot more accomplished. And we're finishing off this base. He said, yeah, and we were saying that the nefesh lekis, the nefesh Bahamas he runs, where nefesh lekis he goes slow, lat. Yeah, we said, okay. And furthermore, just to finish it off, it's like a few lines from the bottom. When the nefesh Bahamas is involved and he's doing the Torah mitzvahs in a way of running, that also affects nefesh lekis. Nefesh lekis mitzad atzma ein ba'inyan merutza. Nefesh lekis, he, so to speak, he's the problem with the nefesh lekis is that he goes b'derech. What did he say? Medidav agbala. It's a very limited, very cold and calculated, and sometimes overly cold and calculated. Nefesh Bahamas is wild, but that's also success. His success when it's channeled in the right way. It's like imagine trying to, in the old days, they used to use a horse and buggy. Imagine you being the horse, and you switch instead of the horse. You're not going to get anywhere very far. Whereas now you get the animal and you put the yoke on it, and you get him to go. You can fly. And that's what he says very clearly here, that through getting the nefesh Bahamas involved, through convincing, through, like we said yesterday, giving the nefesh Bahamas a treat or teaching him how to enjoy these things. And everyone knows for themselves, everyone has to learn how to figure it out. And it's not about making big, bold steps, but it's about recognizing what do I enjoy? And as long as if it's a kosher thing, then how do I incentivize myself? Like my story that I started going to Chassidus to get a Danish. In the beginning, before I did it, I realized that, I said to myself, I'm going to go get up to eat a Danish. That's why I'm getting up. If I'm not going to get up for the Chassidus, then what are you doing? That's like, come on, it's the wrong attitude. You should get up for the learning Chassidus. But I realized that if I do that, it's going to get my nefesh lekis involved. But nefesh Bahamas is still going to be stuck in Mitzrayim, and it's not going to work. So what I realized, I need to get my nefesh Bahamas involved. And I said, no, I need to go for the Danish to make sure the nefesh Bahamas is going to be there. And in the beginning, I remember a few times I felt like hypocritical, like I'm coming here, I'm pretending to learn Chassidus, but really I'm getting Danish. But it wasn't. I was going to learn Chassidus, but I was making sure that nefesh Bahamas was convinced. And that was whatever it was, 5 years ago. Since then, I've been learning Chassidus basically every morning. So it's getting, and that's what happens when you get nefesh b'hamis involved. It's nitasev bat sefisar. You get additional light. Because if it was just my nefesh l'kis, and I wouldn't have gone the Danish, no, it's pasnish, the Danish, it's all about learning. Then I wouldn't be able to convince myself to get up. My nefesh b'hamis still wanted to sleep in the morning, and the way I could convince him to get up is because of the Danish. And everyone has to figure out what's their Danish, and it's about recognizing what works in nefesh b'hamis and how can I get him involved. And that's also nefesh b'hamis. He runs, which is higher than limitations. He doesn't go in this orderly way. He runs, he goes wild. But but we're using it out for good. And that's why it could be that I get 2 hours of sleep, I'm going to get up. My nefesh b'hamis says I want to get up as a Danish, but ultimately get up, it becomes a habit, and the whole thing changed. That's how we say running. That's in the past. And after you, we will run. And the running is also nefesh l'kis, meaning we transform the nefesh l'kis, and even the nefesh l'kis, which is cold and calculated and slow, he starts running as well. Suddenly has more energy. Nefesh l'kis, it's like I need to sleep for some amount of hours and do all these things. It's not orderly. It's too hot in here. It's too cold. Nefesh b'hamis, he's like, let's go, let's learn. So the main general idea of after you we will run, some of the nefesh b'hamis. Which is the whole general avodas amen. Which is all coming from below. Which is the preparation for Matan Torah, which is bring me to the king's room, and that's the pasuk. You draw me after, you pull me. Mashcheni pull me, meaning it's God took us out of Mitzrayim, took our nefesh l'kis out of Mitzrayim. After you, we will run. That's getting our nefesh b'hamis involved. And when we get nefesh b'hamis involved, we call this running, also by nefesh l'kis, which brings us through Hashem inspiring us and us putting in the effort. We get Matan Torah, which is revelation of godliness and a connection with godliness, and that's bringing us to the king's private room. So that's essentially what that has explained to us. What we've seen here is the process of what's meant to be happening in these days between Pesach until Shavuos, and this is what we're meant to be doing. This is the whole process. And now in Gimel, what we're going to do is we're going to discuss the need to have the general refining of nefesh b'hamis and specific. And then in Daled, we're going to give examples of each midah, meaning chesed, gvur, tiferes, netzach, hod, yesod, malchus, and we're going to explain how each of them, not just the sphere of chesed, but chesed, sheba chesed, the chesed, sheba gvura, we're going to explain how it works by nefesh b'hamis and by the nefesh l'kis. And then we're going to go and explain how does it all connect with Lag BaOmer, which is hod, sheba hod. And so let's continue. Gimel. More specifically, to refine nefesh b'hamis, there's two things. So what we've ended up saying before, just until now, is basically there's the whole process, and you have to work in nefesh b'hamis. So now we're going to discuss the details of it. Bir ha-moichin u'bir ha-midas. In nefesh b'hamis, like everything, like nefesh l'kis as well, you have the intellect and the emotions. V'hein beis inyanim v'akravas ha'omer, which is the two ideas in bringing the carbon omer, or Sefiras HaOmer, and the Sefiras HaOmer. The bringing of the omer is the refinement of the mind of nefesh b'hamis. And I'll explain it outside, and then we'll go inside. It may make it easier that way. So essentially, what's interesting is he's saying you have to refine the intellect of nefesh b'hamis and also the emotions. The intellect, in connection to what we've been saying until now, of nefesh b'hamis, is that first day of bringing the carbon omer, because. And the rest of the 49 days is refining the nefesh b'hamis, all the emotions of nefesh b'hamis. So why does nefesh b'hamis have one day to refine the intellect and the rest of the time to refine the emotions? It's because the mind of the nefesh b'hamis is pretty simple. And you think about it, meaning an animal has survival instincts. The thoughts that an animal has is all about surviving. It doesn't think, deep ideas, deep philosophical ideas. Do I exist? Why do I exist? It doesn't have these questions. It's just how do I survive and how do I get more food? And so to without nefesh b'hamis is childish in general, unless we refine it. So he also has simple things. So it's nothing to refine. The intellect Nefesh Bahamis is not really the issue. But he's just figuring out how to eat, how to enjoy life. Whereas the Nefesh, the Midas Nefesh Bahamis, that's where he's at. He's all emotion, and that's about figuring out all the emotions in each one. And we're going to discuss why. That's why specifically we have to do the daily, meaning every specific one, not just Chesed. We know, why don't we just say this week we'll do Chesed, or today we'll do Chesed, just 7 days. Today we'll do Chesed, tomorrow will be Gvura, and the next day Tiferes. Why do we have to do Chesed Sheba Chesed, Gvura Sheba Chesed, Tiferes Sheba Chesed? Why have to get to all these details? It's because essentially, because really to work on Nefesh Bahamis properly, and this is sort of a lesson in life, any time we want to work on ourselves, we want to change something in our lives, we have to be specific. Not just specific, I want to work on Avos Yisrael, but what aspect of Avos Yisrael? What's something specific that I can do that I know I'm going to come in contact with, and what am I going to do about it, and how can I try and change it? And then you can work on it. And it takes a few times, like I learned in Kuchas Tefillah, it takes a few davenings on one midah. So to here, we have to work out what is each midah, not just what's chesed sheba chesed, and then I have to look at my life. Where's my chesed sheba chesed, and is that going the way it should be? Is it going the way the Nefesh Bahamis is? And if it is, how can I refine that? And then what's the chesed sheba gvura? And that's why I want to be doing that every day. And that's sort of the Sefiras HaOmer program is meant to do this. And here you're going to see it for yourself inside. And we're going to, so tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem, we're going to go and explain why you have to do all the details, how to explain all the details, and then we're going to start going through all of the details. Everyone should have a great day.